When you go through an investigation like this, you have to answer the big 6 questions. We've done the who, the what, the where, the how, the when, of course, but the last question has escaped me until today. The why. What was to be gained by ramming the Fitzgerald and ramming the McCain? It's not like the Navy was not going to have a ship to replace it. It's not like they had lots of destroyers over there. It did take a couple out of the fight temporarily, but as we can see, the Hopper, the John Paul Jones, and other DDG's destroyers, some of which are much newer and more sophisticated, stepped into the gap. So what was gained? I think in today's video we've figured it out, and it is terrifying. It is one of the most terrifying things that I think I've ever seen. Now, I started with this map today to show you what the Navy, and this is USNI News, nothing here is classified, showing us general positions of where different carrier strike groups and naval assets are positioned around the world. You know, we've gone in the past and we've shown how they've moved around. But one of the arguments made by our detractors, the people who don't like our channel, has been that it was just an accident and it was a result of lack of attention to detail, primarily because of the culture that was fostered by the last administration. I have had hundreds of comments that literally said that exact same thing in one form or another, blaming one man, the last person who occupied the presidency, for this problem. If that is the case, and it's also what the Navy is saying, that it was a systemic culture problem throughout the entire Navy. If that is the case, how did they solve the problem so quickly? Why, after August 22nd, have we seen not one sailor go overboard, not one sailor go missing, not one near miss, not one collision, no activities whatsoever that have resulted in injury or death? And let's see, September, October, November, December, January, 5 months now. After having seen the Lake Champlain, the Statham, the Normandy, the Fitzgerald, the McCain, all have issues within a 5-month period. How did they fix it so quick? And we're going to show you what the ultimate endgame goal was for these 2 rammings. All right, let's get to it. All right, we're going to start here. This is the report. We're going to use the Navy's words to disprove our naysayers. These collisions, along with other similar incidents over the past year, indicated a need for the Navy to undertake a review of wider scope to better determine systemic causes. The Navy's comprehensive review represents the result of this effort, and they've enclosed it here, and summary of significant actions needed to fix the larger problems and their causes leading up to the incidents. So, Navy says it here in the report. Here, this is Admiral Richardson, and he talks in this article from, right off the Commander, U.S. 7th Fleet, Navy.mil, about how this was a systemic fleet-wide and naval-wide issue, and how culture can't be changed right away, and how they're changing things from the top down. This is why they're saying they fired all of these admirals, as if firing and allowing admirals to resign is going to fix any problems on the ground at the E3, E4, E5 level. Fix them this quickly. They basically just let them get out of it. Now, I just wanted, you can go here, it's a C7, Charlie 7 Foxtrot.navy.mil, media news display article, and a few folks can find this. It's not hard, you can read this for yourself. It says, at some point, commanders cannot mitigate the risk, and they should say no to the mission. Okay? Now, here's why we're here, to get to the point, get to the meat of this. If you make the argument that there was this problem, and one of the fixes, the Navy said, was the problem. One of the fixes they're going to apply, I should say, is now requiring Navy ships to turn on their AIS transponders when in congested areas. The reason that's a false argument is, in the case of the Fitzgerald, the captain of the ACX Crystal, the cargo ship that hit them, said he was aware of the ship. He tried to contact it. He flashed his lights at it. He blew his horn. Bridge-to-bridge radio, no response. And 10 minutes prior, attempted to make physical action on his ship to avoid the collision, yet still ended up hitting them anyway. He said they suddenly steamed onto my course. So the AIS, in this case, would have made zero difference because the captain knew. Now, remember that 10-minute thing that he said? It's like, for 10 minutes I tried to steer my ship out of the way and still ended up hitting him. If you make the allegation that my channel's just full of crap and that this track that we showed here is truly the ACX Crystal, and that everything that they're showing us is just as it was, and I'm just, gone off the deep end. Let me show you what the ACX Crystal has the ability to do in 10 minutes. Now, this is 1702 GMT, 202 local time. This represents where she was 32 minutes after the collision. Okay? This is where she goes down and makes her big loop around. Now remember this time, 1702, 57 seconds. Now, I'm going to play this forward. Okay? Showing you here that we're still reporting in that Class B transponder 5-second paradigm. Okay, I'm going to back this out here real quick and show you this. Now we're going to go forward to 1712.57. Okay? Close enough. 1713. This ship allegedly has the ability to do a full 180-degree turn inside of 10 minutes. And actually, when you look at the beginning of the turn to the end of the turn, it's actually more like 5. So how could that possibly be that the ACX Crystal would have hit this ship if she knew 10 minutes prior they were on a collision course and, as they said, were attempting to avoid? We've seen the destroyer and its abilities on YouTube, that within like 2 or 3 minutes, this thing can do a full 180 almost within its own ship length. And this ship, allegedly, can do the same thing. Let's look at this again. 1702 and 42. We're going to play it again forward. Okay? And here it goes. 1704, 1705, 1706, 1707, 1708, 1709, 1710, and we'll say, okay, that's 9 minutes. 1711. So, how can this possibly have happened the way they said it happened? With the ACX Crystal being aware of the Fitzgerald in the Navy report, which we're going to take to be the gospel truth, even though we've shown all sorts of lies, aware of the ACX Crystal 20 minutes prior. They both saw each other. They both knew where each other was. They were both allegedly attempting to avoid the collision and ended up being one T-boning the other. How could you possibly accept that to be the truth? Given their own information that we're going to say is true, even though we've established clearly that this particular track is false, fictitious, and bogus because of the 5-second reporting paradigm that doesn't occur aboard Class A vessels. And if you take that into issue, I have pulled up 3 other random accidents from Vessel Finder. Here's the one of the South Marine Maru with the North Jasper in the East China Sea. Play this forward. Okay, 31. 41. 10 seconds. 51. And this shows their collision. Both vessels reporting on the 10-second paradigm. Here is the Maersk Genoa in collision with the Dan Fighter. Okay. That says 8:49. And we'll play this forward. 59. 09. 19. Okay, and that's the Dan Fighter up there. And these are Class A vessels. Okay, and down here we have the Genoa. Here's another one. Here's the city of Rotterdam with the ferry ship Primula. Okay, another collision. Vessel finder. Playing this forward. 3651, 3701, 3711, 3721. Class A vessels reporting on the 10-second. Okay? And we showed this in the case of the McCain and the Alnick as well. Class A transponders, when they're running at speed, transmit on 10-second, not on the 5-second, and then go to the 30-second, and then jump again to the 20-second, and the 40-second, and then all over the place, like we saw the ACX Crystal do. And also, giant cargo ships can't do 180-degree turns in 7 minutes. They can't do it. It's not possible. I live literally by one of the biggest ports on the East Coast, and I drive over the Dames Point Bridge in Jacksonville all the time. And you can see these vessels out there going in and out of the giant port. They do not turn 180 degrees in 7 minutes. They move at the speed of smell. They're giant moving mountains. They don't have the ability to do this. Now, as promised, the why. Why did they do it? Look at this, folks. Naval enthusiasts are tweeting what they believe are U.S. warship positions after commanders ordered the vessels to activate their beacons while in congested waters. The order to turn on AIS locators, reported by National Public Radio on September 29, follows a series of collisions that have killed 17 sailors in the Pacific in recent months. There have been folks come to my channel and say, "You are not a patriot because you have reported classified information about the laser system or about this, that, and the other about the naval vessels." This isn't classified information. You can now track Navy ships and their real-time movements using Twitter. And this is right from the Navy. I took issue with Admiral O'Coin when he decided to tell everybody that the location under the waterline where the collision occurred, behind the bulkhead, was where 116 sailors were sleeping, and there was an auxiliary machine room. And also that, where the captain's quarters were. I mean, it was a foreign submarine intelligence officer's dream to listen to this. It's like, great, next time we decide we're going to pop up Periscope on one of these vessels and torpedo it, we know exactly where we're going to aim. One shot, kill a third of the crew, knock out all communications, and possibly have a chance of killing the captain in one shot. And now, this clearly was the why. Clearly, we can see that the goal here was to force the Navy to tell the entire world where all of their assets are. You mark my words, this is going to be used. They're going to take out an aircraft carrier. They're going to make what we just saw with the McCain and the Fitzgerald look like child's play. Because they're going to know where they are ahead of time. They're going to be able to see all sorts of operational patterns. There was another article I wish I would have put up about how servicemen are compromising operations by using FITBIT. They are in these secret clandestine locations around the world. They are jogging and running and working out, and they're using Fitbit to track their progress. Well, these routes that you can find on Fitbit pretty much outline the entire base. And it, bases that were hard to see from orbit before, using satellite tracking or whatever they were using, are incredibly easy to find and map out the locations and the roads and the entire layouts of these forts and these clandestine locations. I'll have to find the link to that, but clearly, this might be one of the biggest screw-ups in military history. Announcing to Twitter the locations of all of our Navy ships. This is going to have blood on its hands. I guarantee it. And it was all a result of the collisions of the Fitzgerald and the McCain. Much bigger things going on, folks. Anyway, I'll leave it there. It's almost 16 minutes. Pray for our sailors. Soldiers, guardmen, airmen, and Marines. They are going to need the hand of God to protect them now. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.